My experiences showed me that music is a universal language. It also gave me the tools to understand that music was a lot more than just an art form or a form of entertainment. It could be a form of therapy. It could be a platform for learning. It could be a platform for connecting, but also a means to developing mindset and skills that enable all of us as human beings.
Welcome to the Coursera podcast, where we have conversations with renowned experts and industry leaders to explore global trends impacting the future of education and work. I'm your host, Arunav, Vice President of Global Communications at Coursera. The music industry has always been a space of constant change, but in recent years, the pace of transformation has accelerated. From the rise of streaming and the power of social media to the latest advancements in technology, artists are navigating a world that looks vastly different from even a decade ago. At the heart of these changes is the ongoing need for music education, ensuring that artists, no matter where they are in their careers, have access to knowledge and resources they need to succeed. I'm thrilled about our guest on the podcast today, Panos Panay, President of the Recording Academy, the organization behind the iconic Grammy Awards. Panos has a fascinating background and he is leading the Academy at a pivotal time. Under his leadership, the Academy is not just recognizing musical excellence, but also supporting artists through groundbreaking initiatives that are making music education accessible on a global scale. Welcome, Panos. I'm delighted to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, Arunav. I'm excited to be on this podcast.
So let's dive in. I know music is close to your heart. It has often played a very pivotal role in shaping people's life. It has done to me and it has done to you as well. Can you talk a little bit about the influence it had on your formative years? Can you describe how music influenced your personal and professional choices?
Absolutely. Well, contrary to what my accent may betray, I did not grow up in America. I grew up in Cyprus, a small island in the Mediterranean. And I'd say that from a very, very young age, of me seeing Elvis Presley in a movie called King Creole, all the way through my teenage years, learning to play music and being influenced by all kinds of genres and styles, from jazz to American blues. Music for me was a gateway to imagining a different future, a different life. It's always been a form of self-expression, a form of healing, but I honestly cannot think of any time in my life that music did not play a very, very big part of my everyday existence and reality. I don't think I knew at that time when I was very young that I'd end up having a career in music and in so many different facets of the music industry. I didn't even know that those two words could go together until much later, but it's always played a massive, massive role for me. It even taught me English. It taught me history. It taught me about relating to different people and different cultures. So I've always seen music as a fundamental part of our human existence.
Absolutely. So you come from a small island, but your background is pretty diverse and you have done some of everything in the music world. How have these experiences influenced your leadership style and the initiatives you drive at the Academy now?
I started my career right after I finished my undergraduate at Berklee College of Music. I had gone to Berklee to become a guitarist. I think I quickly realized that I was not quite equipped to be at the highest levels of that profession. I ended up doing music business and I kind of found my path, if you will, through that. It was an area that combined my passions, my desire to be part of this industry and play a role and make an impact. But after I graduated through an internship and through the H-1B program that enabled me to stay in America, I became a talent agent. I ended up booking a lot of my idols from jazz, people like Chick Corea and Nina Simone, Pat Metheny, Leonard Cohen, many, many others. And then throughout my journey as an entrepreneur, having founded a company called Sonic Bids in 2000 that I ran for 13 years, one of the first platforms that connected artists with music promoters, all the way through my time at Berklee. Berkeley, where I ran strategy for the institution and expanded it into different areas, developed campuses in Abu Dhabi, in New York, oversaw the campus in Valencia, and now at the academy. I'd say that my experiences, first of all, showed me probably what is the most cliche expression of music, but it's so true that music is a universal language. Everybody speaks, understands, emotes, and relates to music, irrespective of the language that the singer is singing in or the lyrics are in. It also gave me the tools to understand that music was a lot more than just an art form or a form of entertainment, that it could be a form of therapy, it could be a platform for learning, it could be a platform for connecting, and that also having worked so closely with many musicians throughout my life, I have grown to understand that the mindsets and the skills and the way that a musician goes about relating and creating in the world are transferable. So it gave me a really deep respect for the learning process of music, or even music education, as a means not just to expressing artistry, but also a means to developing mindsets and skills that enable all of us as human beings to create and to relate to the world around us in ways that I think are really, really important for that shared humanity we all have.
And in fact, Panos, I see that every day in my life as well. Means my daughter is 9 year old, and by the way, she's a big fan of Berkeley School of Music, and that's where she wants to go. Though she's 9, which is totally startling as to why. But she started kindergarten when it was the height of pandemic, and she was a Zoom kid basically, and she just did not have the confidence. But music enabled her to gain a lot of confidence, and she actually started collaborating with other people. She became part of the band. She is now part of the choir, and it has allowed her to express in ways that was very difficult for her initially during the COVID years. She just did not have the confidence to interact with people.
Well, Arunav, it's amazing you bring that up because I have two 10-year-old girls. As a matter of fact, you and I are having this podcast recording at this time because they're at their music lesson, so they won't barge in interrupting us. But on their own, without even my prodding, they decided that they wanted to study. They're twins. One of them took up violin, the other one took the cello. And there's something about the act of learning music that, to your point, enables a young person to develop confidence. It's beyond just, I would say, any other art form in the way it just resonates with us as people, perhaps in the innermost way. I would say that it's the most foundational aspect of us being humans, even more so than language. As I've grown older, I've come to respect music, which of course is also in itself derived from the Greek name of muse, right? Something that inspires us, as something supremely important for that shared fabric that we need to have as a society. And a few years ago, I wrote a book on this subject matter called Two Beats Ahead: What Musical Minds Can Teach Us About Innovation, where out of my own curiosity, we interviewed a lot of creators, from people like Justin Timberlake and Pharrell and T-Bone Burnett, the famous producer, Jimmy Iovine, and many others, about their creative process, and trying to unpack that in terms of how those, again, mindsets had applicability in ways beyond just the art form of performing or recording music.
So clearly, you are advancing that mission of growing accessibility to music, and the Recording Academy has always been big on music and education. Why is this such a big priority for you? You explained why it is such a big priority personally, but professionally, what it will do to the community.
The Recording Academy, for the people who are listening not familiar with it, other than, of course, the Grammys, is a 67, 68-year-old organization that I think is unique in its construct, in the sense that it represents 20 plus thousand creators of music, the producers, engineers, performers, songwriters, arrangers, the people that are responsible for this art form we all enjoy. And the organization is, I would say, unique in the sense that it is ran by creatives, for the advancement and the advocacy of creatives. And nothing else like this exists. It's a beautiful institution that is there to, I would say, not just advocate, but also safeguard what I think is the most valuable person in society, which is the creator, for all the reasons I described earlier. So for us, especially given that we are going through a period of time where there's so many transformational changes, driven by technology, even driven by social changes. We believe that as an organization, we have a duty to our members to play a role in that continuous upskilling, but also tap into that collective knowledge pool that our 20 plus thousand members have and use it as a means of advancing the Academy's mission outside of just the United States, but into all parts of the planet because talent is distributed everywhere. Opportunity is uneven and not accessible to everyone. But perhaps because I did not grow up here, I've always believed that no matter who you are, whatever passport you may carry or language you speak or wherever by sheer roll of the dice you were born, that should never predetermine your ability to express yourself as a creative, and that opportunity should be distributed equally. So that's what's motivating us at the Academy, and of course, even through this relationship that we've developed with Coursera, which has been a personal passion point of mine.
So, can you talk a little bit about in what ways you're helping emerging artists, emerging creators who are just getting started? Maybe that's a good segue into Grammy Go and what inspired the collaboration. So, explain this construct a little bit and how it will enable a lot more creators around the world.
Well, first, for me, there's no greater platform than Coursera when it comes to reaching learners. I'm not going to play back your own statistics, but you have close to 150 million learners that reach every part of this globe. And from the beginning, I felt that to supercharge what the Academy does and to reach as many people as possible, the best partner would be your organization, Coursera. And from our standpoint, we want the Academy to not just be an entity that's synonymous with the Grammy Awards, but we want it to be a source of inspiration and learning for anybody that aspires not just to enter the industry as a business and create, but also somebody who's already in the business and wants to keep up with all the changes and knowing who our members are, which anybody who's tuning in, if you've watched the Grammy Awards or if you've followed the Grammys, not just the show that is accessible on television through CBS, but also the 90 plus categories that comprise of the awards. Anybody whose name you've seen there is a member of the organization. And, for us, getting that collective knowledge, not just again of the world famous names, but also of the people that are producing and engineering and arranging and recording, performing sometimes in the background of this, beautiful mosaic that we call a song. We wanted to take that knowledge and put it out there. And that was inspiration behind an effort that we called Grammy Go to launch these first two courses with Coursera.
Mhm. Let's dive a little bit on these courses which are on the platform. What kind of specific needs of creator, especially on the technical side, that you think these courses will meet? And more broadly, what kind of soft skills or business knowledge does Grammy Go focus on?
One of the advantages that again we have in working together is that we're able to collaborate on understanding the market need for what is out there. And these two courses are a first dipping of our toes, if you will, into this water. So we've landed on, I would say, two what I feel are important disciplines. One is around building your audience, no matter who you are, unless you're somehow able to connect with somebody out there, to develop your brand, to leverage the modern ways by which you're able to reach out there and find your audience, find your fans, find your people, if you will, then it doesn't matter how good your creativity is. If it fails to find an audience, then clearly that is preventative for you to have a career. But even beyond that, the meta skills of knowing how to connect with people, for me, go beyond just somebody who sings a song or somebody who writes a tune, right? It's applicable to anybody. And I think we have a lot to learn, frankly, from the people who do it best in the world. And those often tend to be musicians and the performers that many of us enjoy listening to their music. And the second course is a bit more technical, and that is all about music production. And again, putting together the bits and pieces, if you will, that constitute a composition and putting them in such a way, capturing them in such a way that enables you to put your best foot forward is a critical part of the creative journey. And many people have heard of the term producer, but they don't always really know what they do. And nowadays, everybody's a content creator that's looking to reach an audience, and everybody's a content producer in many ways. Even what you and I are doing right now, well, there's somebody that's going to put all this together and, edit it, cut it, put it together and produce the darn thing. So that's a critical skill in today's world where so many of our interactions are done through, well, the very device that you and I are using to connect with each other. So these are the first two courses, building your audience and music production that we put out there. But we have ambitions to do a lot more.
Absolutely. We are really honored and excited about that collaboration. I do want to talk to you a little bit about building audience. On one side, there is definitely a lot more avenues than what it used to be even 20 years back to find your audience. I mean, through social media, through other channels, lot less barriers to finding your voice and distribute your content across the world. On the other hand, there is way too much content as well, and there is a lot of attention deficit. What's your advice to creators on how do they break through this paradigm? On one side, it is an opportunity. On one side, it is a challenge.
In the course, we address this, but I'll say my one piece of advice is authenticity. I've always believed that irrespective of the medium through which we connect, and that is going to be ever changing. Once upon a time, it was only done in person. Then you had telephones. Then you had radio and television and the internet and on and on. I have no idea. Now we have social media. I don't really know what that next medium is going to be, but there will be another one. But the through line when it comes to effective communication and connection with audiences, ultimately being authentic, having a voice that's unique and that is yours. Whether you are an educator, whether you're a speaker, a politician, or a musician, having an authentic voice that resonates with somebody is the most critical thing. Everything else, in my view, is more about refining the right tactics, finding the right platforms. But if you lack authenticity, you will not connect with anybody. So that to me is the advice. And then look for the platform that best enables you to express that authenticity because not all of them are the same. Even on social media, you have multiple channels through which you're connecting with audiences. Those could be TikTok or a Facebook or an Instagram, or if you're a professional, it's a LinkedIn, whatever that may be. These platforms are different. They reach different audiences in different ways. The medium is different. The content is different. Understanding which ones suit you, how to adapt your message to each of them is fundamentally important. And then, of course, let's not forget the live interaction, the live communication. We often, again, both of us have young children, and I keep telling them, when I was a kid and you had a friend, you had to somehow call somebody's house and navigate through their parents to get to your friend, right? So you kind of learn skills about how to connect with somebody who was 20 years older than you and say, "Hi, Miss So and so, is my friend so and so over there? And how are you doing today?" I mean, nowadays, because the platforms have changed, we kind of have lost a bit of that. And I think that another part of the course is also about how you connect with audiences in a live way that's real and authentic, because that is by far the most foundational human way, the most elemental way of connecting with people.
Absolutely. I think you emphasize on a very important point is being authentic, being yourself. In fact, Mark Twain said this, but this is even more applicable in creative fields like music is be yourself because everybody else is taken.
Love it.
You're right. The distribution, the avenues, the technology is not going to be a replacement of your creativity. It can supplement and amplify. So use that as a tool to find the audience, but not necessarily to reduce your creativity.
I'm a believer that even in this AI driven age, authenticity is the most important and often the rarest of currencies that exists out there. In an era of infinite copying, if you will, which is what the internet is, it's the infinite copy machine. I think authenticity and being one of is the most critical thing.
So you are doing that and promoting that, but you're promoting that now on a global basis, especially through this collaboration, not just in the US, which is so needed around the world as well. Are there specific regions or groups that you're hoping to reach?
Yeah, look, we're seeing a massive growth in areas like the Middle East and Africa, where through the emergence of new group of people into the middle class, the growth of the industry, the growth of the creative class, if you will, is massively growing. You're seeing it on radio and on streaming services, right? The growth of non-Western content, right? Afrobeats, Amapiano out of Africa. You saw it a few years ago with the emergence of K-pop. So for us, these regions, especially Middle East and Africa, are two that as an academy we're deeply interested in. Of course, without a doubt, Southeast Asia and Asia are very important as well. But we are looking at parts of the world outside of the traditional Western countries that are important to us as an organization because that is where you're having a massive influx for us of a new class of creatives that need this, perhaps even more so than a young performer out of London and out of Rome or, out of Seattle. If you're somebody that again is growing up in a place or a part of the world with little industry, little awareness of copyright and intellectual property protections, little knowledge of how you make a career out of your talent. Those are the people that we are eager to reach through this partnership. And of course, again, one of the reasons why we decided to work with Coursera is because of this unprecedented reach that you have on a global scale as a platform.
Can you talk a little bit about the artists who are involved as instructors and what can participants learn from them?
Well, for both of these courses, we have some amazing folks that are appearing in cameos. So for building your audience, we have Jimmy Jam, who is one of the most successful songwriters and producers of all time, having produced everybody from Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson, Mariah Carey, on and on. There's probably hardly a day where you tune into your streaming service and not listen to a Jimmy Jam song. We have Janelle Monáe, also a star musician and actress, a multidisciplinary personality that I'm a big fan of. Victoria Monet is another one of these cameo appearances. Developing Your Audience course that was actually this year's Best New Artist on the awards. And on the production side, we have, again, all kinds of world-renowned producers like Hit Boy and Stevie Mackey, Circuit, our own CEO, Harvey Mason Jr. is making a cameo appearance. But these are people that collectively have worked with just about every name that you can think of in many situations spanning multiple generations. I grew up listening to Jimmy Jam compositions, all the way to folks like Stevie Mackey and Circuit, that are at the cutting edge of what's happening today as well. For us, again, presenting this sort of assortment of different people that bring different perspectives, unified by this commonality of music, was critical to the way that we approached both of these courses.
I think that's definitely an outstanding lineup which learners from around the world will gain from. We are coming towards the end, but I definitely want to ask you, since you are right at the intersection of music and technology and the change, what emerging technologies and trends will make the most significant impact on the music industry in the next few years, and how Recording Academy is getting ready to embrace those changes?
Look, without a doubt, my answer will surprise absolutely none.
Mm-hmm.
And that is AI. It is the transformational technology that I would say is not even a once in a generation. Perhaps it's once in an era that comes around and appends and changes everything. And for us, it presents both unprecedented opportunity, but also we're not naive about the threats that it poses, especially as, well, we're all witnessing it in real time. It's getting better and better at doing all kinds of tasks that nobody ever thought would be possible. I think it's surprising even the experts in the field. As an organization, we're not technophobic. I mean, technology arguably has played a role in creativity since there was humanity. And the Recording Academy would not exist if, well, it wasn't for a piece of technology called recording. We've always been very proactive about accepting that technological advancement is very much part of the creative journey. That said, we also are here because I think I started this podcast by talking about our shared humanity. And we believe that ultimately the human should be at the center of creativity, not an algorithm, not a machine. So when it comes to our organization, we're proactively advocating for the ethical use of AI. We're proactively advocating among legislators to create the right protections for creators. And on the other hand, we are also committed to educating our community about this new technology, which is ever evolving. I mean, I am sure that in a month or two or three from now, we'll be even further surprised by what's happening. People ask us all the time, do you see an AI winning a Grammy? The answer is no. We have no problem with content being created using AI, but in the category that you're being awarded a Grammy for, whether it's production or performing or songwriting, the entity that wins a Grammy has to be a person. So the writer has to be a person, the producer has to be a human being, the performer has to be a human being. We're not oblivious to the use of technology any more than when multi-track recording was introduced, sampling was introduced, drum machines were introduced. We never as an organization said, no, if you use drum machines, you can't be eligible to submit for a Grammy. And you may think, well, it's an award, but for us, it's more than that. Not only does winning a Grammy have a material impact on your career, not only does winning a Grammy have a material impact on your finances, but if you think about it, the reason why Grammy is a Grammy, unlike any other award, is because it's an award that your peers choose to give you that year because they think that your expression in whatever field or category is the one that is the most excellent. We reward or award excellence. And this is not done by a jury, it's done by your peers. And there's something really beautiful about peers honoring peers. And we're committed for those peers to continue to be humans.
That was indeed a beautiful way to sum it up. Thank you so much, Panos, for taking the time to talk to us, coming on the podcast. We are obviously very excited about the collaboration as well.
Thank you, Arunav. The same with us.
That's a wrap on today's episode. The intersection of technology, music, and learning is opening up new opportunities for artists everywhere. And exciting to see the Recording Academy leading the way. If you enjoyed this episode of the Coursera podcast, please rate, review, and share. Until next time, I'm Arunav Sinha. Thank you for tuning in.